Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Tristana updated complete guide. Now I haven't done Tristana in a long while. I have been playing Tristana a little bit here and there, but not a ton this season. But before we get into talking about anything, don't forget to check out the basic guide that I'll put up in the cards right now for her skills, leveling, order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with that said, now let's get straight into it. So you can see that basically with Tristana, the best build hasn't really changed, right? Looking at the top players, they're pretty much all going for the same kind of build as well. Not too much variation here. Although you will see that most of them have gone for the Berserker's Greaves, which is getting more and more popular nowadays for a lot of ADCs. But in the game, I believe I still went for Gluttonous Greaves. Although I do think that a lot of ADCs now, Berserker's Greaves does make a lot of sense, right? I actually think that it's probably better to go Berserker's Greaves, but yeah. So first item, pretty logical. It's going to be Bloodthirster, giving you the early game AD, a little bit of attack speed, as well as giving you the physical vamp, as well as that shield when you go down below a certain HP. And then, of course, Navori, very logical second item, gives you, more cooldown, very important for all three of your basic abilities, as well as, of course, increasing the damage of your bomb as well. And then you go for Blaster. Blaster gives you the extra burst damage, the extra range, pretty decent stats, as well as a little bit of wave clear. And finally, of course, more reminder for Armor Pen and Grievous Wounds. Tristana doesn't really need IE because her bomb already does kind of so much damage. You don't really need IE for Tristana. And last item is going to be something defensive, such as a Maul. Now, rune setup is the standard ADC one, and spells, Tristana actually has a lot of freedom. Now, personally, I never take Ghost on Tristana. I don't think Tristana needs Ghost. I think you're normally kind of choosing between Cleanse if there's CC, Barrier, or Exhaust, right? And I think on Tristana in particular, I tend to find myself going Exhaust on Tristana quite often compared to other ADCs, because like with Tristana, you can jump in on someone and exhaust them, and then, you know, you go in on them or whatnot. So I think Tristana actually does have quite a good exhaust value compared to a lot of other ADCs. But regardless, let's actually take a look at our gameplay and see how it goes. Alright, so let's move on into the gameplay itself. Now, of course, as usual, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. You guys know I will be sure to address them. So, as I commonly mention when I play Tristana, I love to play Tristana with engaged support, because I think the best way to play Tristana is she really isn't the strongest in the early game anymore after so many rounds of nerfs. She's not that great in the mid game either. She has a she and Caitlyn have a very notorious mid game power trough if you're not a hit, and she of course is a late game monster, completely insane in the late game. Like here, very nice catch by Rel onto the Samira. You can see we almost kill the Samira there. I think actually if we flash forward and get off another auto, we would have actually killed her, but I didn't expect to do that much damage to her, not gonna lie. Which kind of runs a little bit counter to my point of her not doing very much early game damage, which is true because most of the time you will never be able to prompt your bomb, which every stack of your bomb is exponential in terms of damage. Like every auto attack you get to charge your bomb increases the bomb damage by a lot more than the previous charge. So if you stack your bomb to like the maximum, it does a ton of damage, and if you can actually get that off, that's the main way you actually get kills for Tristana in lane. So to my original point, I like to play with engaged supports because I like to let them engage for me, snowball in the early game, and then just try to take over the mid game and late game through that way and end the game there. Whereas if you play with an enchanter, unless the enemy team makes a mistake, a lot of the times you're just kind of farming and doing nothing much. And also, Tristana is actually not very good in lane because she has very short range, right? You guys know Tristana's range increases by 10 every time she levels up. So at her base, like level 1, 2, 3, etc., I think all the way up to somewhere around level 7 or 8 or so, she has lower range than the rest of the ADC. So in lane, you're kind of suffering because you're just basically trying to reach minions, but you can't really reach minions, which is why it's also a pretty good matchup into Samira, who has pretty bad range herself. So with that in mind, it's a little bit better, but against most other ADCs, she has kind of trash range, so I really kind of like to go for all-ins, where you basically just try to farm, try not to lose too much HP, and then when the opportunity arises, you just go in with your engaged support and then just get kills. With Enchantress, as I mentioned, you kind of need to wait till like you get like 3 items and then the Enchantress buff you and then you just become a monster, which also kind of works, but it's just not really my style personally. I like to play with engagers. So here, Rel goes in onto Braum, but unfortunately Braum is not really going to take a lot of damage. She's really tanky with that E, the damage reduction. But you can see based off how much we've been bullying them, we actually shoved the Samira off of the lane and off the minions. So she's going to lose some minions, and we also get that extra plate. So the extra plate, of course, does allow us to get a little bit of a lead as well. So it's actually a really good laning phase for us so far, despite the fact we didn't get any kills. We're actually like 100 or so gold up on the Samira, which is, you know, not the most in the world, but it's definitely not nothing either. You know, any advantage is a good advantage. Now, you guys saw my tier list way back when. I do think Tristana is not really the best ADC at the moment right now, but definitely I do see her potential to, for example, snowball in the early game and just take over the game completely. I'm sure we've all run into Tristanas who are completely fed and they just, you know, just blast you into next week very, very easily, and there's nothing much you can really do about it. At the same time, you also have those useless Tristanas who feed in the early game and they basically do no damage until they reach like 4 items, by which time either they suddenly take over the game and get back into it, which happens a lot of the time actually. Like, you have a Tristana who feeds in lane and then goes around the map, kills people from other lanes, and suddenly is back into the game. Or, you know, you have a Tristana who doesn't do that, just completely useless the whole time, and unfortunately just ends up doing nothing the entire game. So very feast or famine champion in my opinion, like very similar to a lot of like the other feast or famine champions like Draven, for example. Like, I feel Tristana is going closer and closer to Draven, where if you can get fed in the early game and take over the game, as Pantheon now just comes in, we just hop away. She can just snowball the game and just steamroll the enemy team, but if she doesn't, she kind of just feels very sucky to play, which I'm sad to say. But yeah, so here Pantheon coming back in the manual route. Braum engages. Unfortunately, Rel is taking a ton of damage, but is able to actually escape, and we are able to DPS a little bit in the meanwhile. We actually survive the Pantheon gank, and Braum uses Flash and Ignite and ulti as well, so a lot of tools used from the enemy side. I still have all my summoner spells and my ultimate, and I'm basically at full health, right? So I'm a-okay. Rel is also okay. Did have to use her summoner spells to get out, but other than that, it's absolutely fine. There must have been a ward there because my back got disrupted. And by this time, you can see how hard Samira is shoving. We start to realize that, you know, it's probably a better idea to just take this wave, because we're going to lose the entire wave if we don't do that. So we're going to actually just go ahead and grab the wave. And next thing I want to talk about is the summoner spell choice. You see I have Exhaust in this game, and the reason why I decided to go Exhaust in this game is because honestly, basically almost the entire enemy team is a good Exhaust target. Other than Braum, who really doesn't do any damage. Fiora gets close to you, you can exhaust her. Of course, she does do some true damage if she procs vitals, but other than that, exhaust is really great for her. And then you have Pantheon, who, if you manage to exhaust him before he jumps on you, you're going to negate a lot of his damage. Same thing with Zed. After he ults you, you can exhaust him to reduce his damage. And Samira, of course, when she ults you, you can exhaust her as well. So exhaust kind of a really nice counter to majority of the enemy team. And also in this particular game, I decided to rush Bloodthirster because basically their entire team is all AD. They don't have any AP damage at all. So Armor Boots in this game is completely busted, so that's exactly what I'm going for here. But you don't want to rush Armor Boots as the first item because you're going to lack damage, right? So what I'm doing here is, I mean, firstly, I'm obviously going in on the Samira, but what I'm doing here in terms of build is I'm deciding to rush a Bloodthirster first, and then I'm going to go for my Armor Boots afterwards so that I have some early game damage, and then I can spec into that defensive capability. So both objectives are spawning, but my jungler and my support unfortunately just died, so not a lot we can do about that one. I don't really feel very safe to push the tower there because I don't know if Pantheon is just gonna ult on me, things like that. The irritating thing about playing against Pantheon is you always have to respect the fact that he can ult. Now here Samira, of course, doesn't know I'm there because there is a control ward in that bush, so I know I can kill her with my fully charged combo as well as my ulti. Now here, you can see I'm exhausting Pantheon when he's jumping on me. Just look at the damage he does, by the way. I don't actually think I needed to flash there. I think that was a bit of a panic flash because with the exhaust and the shield bow, sorry, not shield bow, Bloodthirster shield, I don't actually think I needed to flash. I think I could just walked it out, but I kind of panic flashed there because I was like, wow, he's doing a lot of damage even through the exhaust. But he basically just used all his abilities, so he's not going to be able to kill me anyway. So a little bit of a misplay from me. Now Braum walking in a very dangerous way. However, it's all a bait. He cancels my jump with his ulti, so there's no way I'm going to escape Pantheon. I'm going to end up going down here, unfortunately. And Rel can't really do very much to help me either. So anyways, here my team is getting into a very, very huge fight over here. Victor with a very insane ult, very many low health bars on the enemy team. Unfortunately, no one dies at the moment from the enemy team, which is just bonkers. The Braum finally goes down. Zed's coming in with the ulti onto the Rel. Rel is gonna go down, as does Hecarim, who is in the vicinity and gets blasted by the Zed shurikens. Now here I'm going to jump onto the Zed, who's basically 1 HP at the moment. He isn't actually dying though, is the problem, and I don't think I need to ult him there. I think it's another panic ult because I was just trying to ult him to get the damage to kill him, but since he teleported back to his shadow, I don't actually think I needed to ult him anymore because he's now put himself back in danger and he's now going to actually end up dying regardless of whether I ult or not. So a little bit of a waste of an ult, but it's a very minor thing. And we're doing decent, we're 2-1, not exactly like snowballing out of control, but we do have a lead and we do have like basically the most goal on our team. Of course, one of the main issues is the fact that Pantheon is very fed, and whether or not Pantheon is fed, I just hate playing against Pantheon, right? As I was trying to talk about just now, like, Pantheon is that kind of champion that he has a global ulti and he has a point and click stun. So the moment you overextend and he gets a ult like behind you, he's just gonna point and click stun you and then he's just gonna burst you down, right? So it kind of sucks playing against Pantheon for that reason, because you always have to kind of respect his ulti unless you see him like on the complete opposite side of the map where he cannot reach you, right? Other than that, you kind of always have to assume he can drop in at any time, which is really one of the biggest strengths of Pantheon, right? Is that global, not global, semi-global ult and having that like pressure to just come in at any moment. Speaking of which, he is here once again. We saw him walking into the bush. Now Zed's coming here as well. Now I've learned this mistake from you know, a couple of videos ago where like I got dove like 4-man and I could not, you know, survive. And even with a Rel, I don't think I can survive. So I'm backing all the way to tier 2. And TP from Sion's coming in. Rel goes in with the ulti. Sion with the knock-up as well. Here I actually misclicked my ult. I was trying to click my E there. I fat-fingered the ulti. But we're kind of winning the fight for the most part. Up to the point where we actually don't. Samira loses her mind dashing in on me. Tries to get her S rank, but that really just doesn't. Now here, you can see Braum is tanking the damage of the... just he's 1 HP there, right? So I'm thinking he's just dead, right? But somehow he doesn't die. I still don't understand up to this point. How did he not die to that 3-stack bomb? Like, what happened? Like, he already used his E, didn't he? So how did he not die there? Like, that was just completely confusing to me. I'm like, there's no point chasing a Braum who's already dead, right? Let me just return to my team and help them out with the Pantheon, who is definitely the more valuable target. So you never know, right? In the alternate universe, I could have chased down the Braum, killed him, but then Pantheon survives and kills my team instead. Always a possibility. So, you know, either way, turning onto Pantheon and killing him is not... I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I'm just baffled by how Braum survived. I thought he was just dead. I thought he was just guaranteed dead, but apparently he was not. So that's just really unfortunate in general. So anyways, we're gonna just clear up the jungle, and here Fiora is in top lane trying to get the tower. We're not gonna allow that. We're at 2 items now. Don't have the Bloodthirster shield unfortunately, but here you can see we're just trying to blast her. Obviously she's just going to run away. Rel coming in from the backup. And not that we really need Rel, but you know, it's just nice to have, I guess, a little bit of extra level of safety. I don't really think we're going to be killing the Fiora, who has ult, who has flash, you know, all her tools. And of course, the problem with that is that she's kind of dragged us to the other side of the map where the dragon isn't, and the fight's kind of breaking out the dragon. Now here, Pantheon is kind of cutting me off, right? So I'm just going to walk back to tower, because we're technically wasting each other's time, right? Because he's trying to cut me off from the fight, but technically he also cuts himself off from the fight, and now he's kind of getting caught out a little bit, and so is Zed. So we are able to get the kill onto Zed, jumping onto the Braum. Now this time he is dead in the water, no chance of him getting out at all. And now we're going to rotate over to the dragon with our team. Now here, Hecarim wasting a little bit of time taking the enemy blue buff. Now I would say that if we can get both, it's fine. So I wouldn't actually really say he's wasting time, but we are taking the dragon really slowly. He does secure the blue buff and I secure the dragon. No big deal, of course, still pretty long enemy death timers. But in the meanwhile, Fiora is just, you know, split pushing, right? That's what Fiora does, right? She gets 2 towers, so that gives her a ton of gold, and she's finally getting caught out. So here, apparently somehow, this is just baffling to me, right? So I'm just jumping. Somehow she executes. Did Sion and Rel not... and Victor not hit her a single time? Like, I was in the base, so I could have just auto-attacked her like 1 time, right? But I thought that she was dead. Like, as in, she was dead, but as in I thought that someone would have gotten the kill and I wouldn't actually need to take that kill. But it appears that somehow no one actually touched her at all, and she was able to just run straight down and execute, which is wild. Like, how did that happen? Anyways, here we have 2 members on the enemy team dead, so we're just going to go for this Baron, right? The only thing that could go wrong is Pantheon ults in and steals it. Now Pantheon is actually over the wall. He doesn't even have to ult in, he just has to flash in, but thankfully we're able to secure it, and enemy team is now just running away. Now Victor commits flash over the wall. I'm just gonna hop over to join my team in case something happens. Sion now is engaging onto the Braum, but Braum is not really the target that we want. Now Fiora is kind of running at me. I'm just gonna flash away. Don't want to deal with her. She's used most of her tools at this point. So has a lot of the enemy champions. Now I'm now hopping in and I'm thinking we can take somebody out here, namely the Samira. Now we ult Samira away. She ends up going down to no one's surprise. We actually go on a rampage here. And here Fiora and her team are kind of running me and Hecarim down. So we're just going to back on off. Just need a little bit more gold for Blaster. So we're going to hop over the wall and take this Raptor camp. And this is going to give us enough for Blaster. So Baron Empowered Recall. Getting myself the Blaster. And since Hecarim is farming his entire top side, we're actually just going to go ahead and farm the bot side. Because you can look at the state of the waves. Aside from mid lane, which Pantheon is pushing in, top wave is completely pushed out, bot wave is completely pushed out, and there's no real easy waves to farm, right? So since I'm like, since Hecarim is farming the other side of the jungle anyway, we're just going to take the other side of the jungle, bot side of the jungle, and now we get the Skull Crab as well. Now here, we see Fiora is pushing out, right? We have the Baron minions, and honestly at this point with 3 items, I believe I can easily 1v1 the Fiora, so I'm not really scared of her whatsoever. I'm just clearing the wave, and she actually just backs, so we don't mind that as well. We can just keep on pushing. And Tristana is a very, very fast tower taker. I think the fastest tower takers are like Tristana and like Jinx, right? So here we can see we just blast down the entire tower, we get the entire tower, solo gold as well, and we get the minion wave at the same time because the bomb does AoE damage. In the meantime, Victor is taking the blue buff with Hecarim, and we can just back off, right? We don't really need to fight them here, so I'm just going to get a reset, and I'm going to actually grab myself a Stasis, because of course Stasis is very useful against Zed and Samira when they ult, and of course if Pantheon gets on top of me, I can also Stasis, or if he's about to get on top of me, ideally I can Stasis, but that requires some very good timing, so yeah. Now here Hecarim just ignores his wolves, so if you're not going to take it, buddy, I'm just going to take it instead. Very easy for Tristana to farm, especially when you hit like 3 items onwards. Of course, you guys know you have scaled to the late game and you're going to do pretty alright. Now I'm 5-1 and 5, pretty nice KDA as well, pretty nice gold as well. I'm most fed member in the entire game. But a fight is breaking out without me and without Victor, so I'm thinking this doesn't look very good, right? You can see Victor's made it to the fight, I'm slowly making my way there, and by this time the enemy team has used most of their tools, so I can just hop in, get the kill onto Samira, or someone gets the kill onto Samira, and unfortunately here I'm getting completely caught out. I popped the Stasis, but somehow, I say somehow because my entire team is here, right? Somehow I still die to Pantheon, and Hecarim also dies to Pantheon before Pantheon finally goes down, right? Like, everybody actually ends up dying to Pantheon. Pantheon kills like 3 of us before he goes down, which is just wild, right? I mean, I guess if I had flashed the moment I came out of Stasis, he wouldn't have killed me with the spear, which on hindsight, that would have been pretty obvious that he's just waiting there to spear me and kill me before he dies himself. But he ends up killing like 3 people before he dies, which is just ridiculous, right? Anyways, like, if I played a little bit better, I could have just flashed away and didn't, if I didn't die there, maybe I could have killed him instead. And maybe the entire, fight would have gone differently instead of 3 of us dying. So here Fiora is split pushing all the way to I don't even know if it's split pushing if she's pushing mid, right? But she's managed to push the mid lane all the way to get the tier 2 tower. So she is getting really fed as well. There's a huge wave here. We're just going to blast that wave and get all these minions. The dragon is now up. Whilst making my way there, you can see I'm always just farming while making my way to places. TP is coming in from the Sion, and we somehow have managed to overtake the dragon and secure the dragon. Now, Zed out someone who's not me, Pantheon engages on someone who's not me, so I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to basically just blast the 2 of them who are really, I feel like, 2 critical components of the team. Of course, Zed is kind of feeding, but feeding Zed can still assassinate like myself or Victor, right? So getting rid of the 2 of them is pretty important, right? So here Fiora is running away. I don't think we can really catch her. I don't think she's worth the chase, so I'm gonna give up the chase and just go ahead and continue on farming. There's no point chasing a Fiora all the way, so I'm just gonna quickly grab the jungle farm. There's a wave here as well, and Samira meanwhile tries to actually end the game by herself, right? And I saw that happening, but it's like I'm thinking like there's no way Victor doesn't just stop her right then and there. So here, Real decides to do Baron, but the moment I show up, decides to walk away from the Baron, which is mind-boggling. Anyways, the entire enemy team dies, but Zed and Pantheon have respawned. Now Pantheon ult is coming in, and this is like a uh-oh situation, because now Pantheon is here. Pantheon kills the Rel However, he's used all the tools on the rail. Unfortunately, he kills the Hecarim as well. And I ult him away, thinking that he's gonna die. But somehow, he survives on 1 HP, at least for a little bit. And I'm not sure how he died eventually, but I got the kill, so I can only assume he must have done something stupid. Like, after I bombed him away and he lived on 1 HP, he must have hit like a camp or something, and the camp killed him, which then I get the kill credit since I damaged him in the last couple of seconds. But that was really weird. The second time this game that I somehow miscalculated the bomb damage and didn't get the kill. So guess I gotta brush up on my Tristana a little bit. But yeah, that was not good, right? Because technically Pantheon could have just flashed back in and smited if he was really bold enough to do that. So here, as I said, I'm basically 4 items now. I don't know why Fiora is just running straight at me. Like, I'm not scared of you anymore. Like, I'm just gonna blast you instead. So I just blast the Fiora. Fiora doesn't proc. Oh, no, there is a world where Fiora kills me there, but I was with my back against the wall, which is the Fiora counter, right? Because if you have one side against the wall, Fiora can never actually proc her ultimate, because you are gonna be like against the wall. There's no way she can, you know, go inside of the wall and kill you. So anyways, I see an opportunity to basically end the game here. Like, everybody is dead except defeating Zed, who's honestly at this point not too big of a threat. So we get the minion wave in from both mid lane and the bot lane, and at this point we can just end the game with ease. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.